Hello and welcome to this NIM tutorial video on grouping. Data that is returned from a filter can be aggregated by one or more columns. Grouping is particularly useful for generating reports. These reports can be sent out as an email or can be the basis for a reporting dashboard. Grouping is most effective for datasets that contain repeated values, often because the data represents one-to-many or many-to-many relationships. Examples include license assignments, group memberships, and employee-to-department assignments. I'm going to start by adding a new filter. We are going to name the new filter Google License Count, then click Create. In this example, I'm selecting Google Licenses as my starting table. When we run this filter currently, it returns 46 results. Now let's explore some of the Group By features accessible through NIM. The grouping feature is accessible by the Group By tab at the bottom of the filter configuration window. To enable it, select the Enable Group By Aggregation checkbox. Let's go over grouping by columns. Columns added to the Group By Columns section are used by NIM to aggregate the data returned by the filter. When grouping is enabled, you must add at least one column to this section. Available columns are those returned by the filter, as well as any custom JavaScript columns that you have added under the Column Specifications tab. To add a new group by column, click Add Column. I'm going to select Licenses, Product Name. Of course, the tables used in your own system will likely be different than those we are using here. If we try to run the filter now, we get an error. This is because you also need output columns to use the grouping feature. Columns added to the Output Columns section define what columns of data NIM returns when the filter is executed. The columns in this section replace the columns that are selected in the Column Selection tab. The name of each column is defined by its output name value, which can be overridden. When grouping is enabled, you must add at least one output column to this section. To add a new output column, click Add Column. Each output column has a column type dropdown that offers the following options: source, count, and script. We are going to start with source. Source columns allow you to select a value in the source column dropdown. Available columns are those returned by the filter, as well as any custom JavaScript columns that you have added under the Column Specifications tab. I'm going Select Source, then Licenses, Product Name. With that done, let's talk about interpretation and operations. The interpretation dropdown lets you define how NIM interprets the data returned by the column. The available options for interpretation are text, numeric, date, Boolean, and other. The type of interpretation you select will change the options available to you in the operations dropdown. For example, the text interpretation lets you return the first value in the group, the last value in the group, or a comma-separated list of all values in the group with a concat option. The numeric interpretation lets you return the sum, average, min, or max of the grouped values. The column's data type must be compatible with the selected interpretation. For example, you cannot perform numeric operations on text data or interpret a datetime column as a Boolean value. In this case, we will be using the text interpretation. If we go back to data and run our filter again, we can now see that the results show the list of all specific product names that we have licenses for. I now want to know how many of each are in the table, so let's go back to the Group By tab. I'm going to add my second output column. This time we will talk about count. Count columns provide a count of returned rows for each unique Group By column value, or a combination of values if multiple Group By columns are defined. If we go back to data and run the filter again, we can now see how many of each license we are using. For example, we are using 3 licenses for AppSheet. However, in this case, I'm only interested in Google-specific licenses. I'm going to add an additional specification to my filter so that I only return results with Google in the product name. Running my filter again gives me a list of 5 products. Let's head back to Group By so we can go over the last type of output column available to us. This time, I'm going to select the script column. Script columns let you write custom JavaScript that evaluates the grouped data and returns an arbitrary value. To edit the script, click the column's edit icon. I'm going to use a simple script to give me a true-false statement around if I have 5 or more of any given license in use. Once that's done, if I go back and run the filter again, we can see the checkbox marked for any with 5 or more licenses in use. Lastly, we are going to spend some time going over sorting. Data returned by a grouped filter can be sorted on any of the returned columns. To configure sorting, click the Sorting button to open the Group By Result sorting window. The direction of sorting can be defined for each column in ascending or descending order. If values are missing, they can be treated as either the largest or smallest values in the sorting order. The priority of sorting can be configured by dragging and dropping columns in the desired order. Now let's save our sorting order and return to the Data tab. Running the filter one final time gives us our product name, how many licenses we are using for each, and if a specific product is being used 5 or more times. Thanks for joining us in this NIM tutorial video on grouping. We hope that this tutorial has given you some good ideas on how to use this function in your own NIM systems, and I'll see you in the next one.